Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's time for Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 2, Part 2, Toil and Trouble. Welcome, everybody. Let me take care of some business first, and we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up here just for you. And again, it's over 1,000 videos now at this point, so it's going to find something for you. If you like what you see there, please hit that subscribe button down below there. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule. I have it up there. I change it out every week. Also, I have all the links to my social media there and all the links to my pages as well. And also underneath that schedule, there is a link of, or I should say, there's a list of stuff that's coming out in the future as well. Not everything is on there. I need to update it. I know there's been some announcements lately of some stuff that's coming out. So I'm going to update that fairly soon. But there's a good majority of stuff that's on there right now. All right, let's get started, shall we? I already did part one. Part one, I just did. I got done about a little less than half an hour ago. So we're going to go into part two now. So, oh, it's a big stretch back there. It really is. Spoiler alert: I am going to spoil the episode. If you've not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. It's giving you enough time to pause, whatever you need to do. All that good stuff. Okay, that's enough. One of these days, MODOK isn't going to make it. But so, of course, we have the aftermath of Sabine being gut stabbed by a lightsaber by Shin Hati. Hati or Hati? I don't know. Either way. So by Shin, she was stabbed by Shin in the gut. She survived. She wakes up at the hospital and tells Ahsoka that she did see the map, that it's that Ezra and of course Thrawn are outside of the galaxy. They're in a different galaxy. And she says, "Did you see what planet it starts from in our end?" And she's like, "No." And she goes, "Well, did you record it?" She goes, "Yeah, but the droids, the assassin droids, smashed up everything," which they did. They smashed everything up. So they were back at square one again. And of course, now the bad guys have the star map. So um, they're trying to think about, where they can go from here. And they know that Morgan, Elsbeth, actually was running the shipyard in Corellia. And Carillion shipyard there. And that was all supposed to be taken by the New Republic and repurposed for New Republic ships. So Hera, of course, is talking to Ahsoka, and they're like, well, wait a minute. Um, you know, there's still ships that are being made, all this kind of stuff, but let's go and take a look over the Carillion shipyards anyway to see if there might be a lead there. Because if we're looking for a ship, that's where we're going to go. So Ahsoka and Hu Yang, hello, Cheryl, end up going over to Corellia along with Hera. Hera decides to meet her there. And Hera brings the Phantom. So for those of you, again, who haven't watched Rebels, the Phantom is a ship in Rebels that everyone knows about. It's the little side ship that they would use. So there's the Ghost and the Phantom. That's the Ghost is the big ship. The Phantom is the little like shuttle, if you will. And we get to see Chopper for the first time in live action. So Chopper, by the way, is the most murderous droid in the Star Wars universe. There again is kind of a not really so much of a joke, but as a truth that Chopper has probably committed so many damn war crimes that his death toll, honestly, by his hands, the Empire has probably suffered somewhere in the neighborhood of thousands. He's brought down like starships, all kinds of stuff on his own. Yeah, and you can understand what Chopper is saying most of the time when he's talking, which is pretty damn funny at the same time. He's a sociopathic droid is really what he is, and probably one of my favorite droids as well. In the final episodes of Star Wars Rebels, he literally single-handedly kills double digits of stormtroopers in that series. I mean, I shit you not, barehanded. He doesn't use weapons or anything like that. He literally kills double digits in stormtroopers. So anyway, we get to see him live action as well. So we end up going to Corellia, and Hera and Ahsoka are getting the tour by the guy who's directing everything, and there is a ship that is out there, a new ship that looks big, and they're like, "Well, what ship is that? What is that for?" And he's like, "Well, let me take a look." And he's looking through his manifest. He goes, "Oh, it's classified." And Hera's like, I'm a general. Hi, there's nothing classified from me. Unclassify it now. Tell me who it is." And we find out that pretty much everyone in the room are still Imperial sympathizers. They're all working for the Imperials still, and so all the Imperials get killed except for the director dude, um, and the ship takes off. So Hera ends up going back down to the Phantom to go and chase it down. Ahsoka takes the short route by going out the window and runs into an Inquisitor and an assassin droid, an HK assassin droid. Now, Inquisitors, for those of you who don't know what an Inquisitor is, if you haven't watched Obi-Wan as well, so Obi-Wan kind of introduced you to the Inquisitors, but the Inquisitors were actually brought in Star Wars Rebels. We actually see them in Star Wars Rebels first. Also, they were in the game Star Wars uh, Fallen, Jedi Fallen Order. So they're in there as well. So an Inquisitor is basically either a Padawan or a Jedi that has been turned to the dark side forcibly, usually, and they end up working for to hunt down other Force-sensitive people. And this happened before A New Hope. So right after Revenge of the Sith, the Imperials basically used these kids, forced them into being Inquisitors, and force them to hunt down other Jedi, and then also force sensitive people to turn them as well. So that's who they are. Now, the Inquisitors at this point in time are supposed to be cleared out, like basically all dead at this point. By the time of A New Hope, they're supposed to be gone. So what is an Inquisitor doing here after, 5 years after Return of the Jedi? No one knows. This is going to be another question that we want to know. Same thing with Balin, Balin's skull, saying that he's a Jedi. He's really not a Sith, but he's not a Jedi either, but he has gone through the whole Jedi Order thing. So she, of course, fights this Inquisitor, takes down the assassin droid, and the Inquisitor gets away on board another ship. In the meantime, Hera and Chopper are chasing down the other ship that is carrying away a hyperdrive, a very large hyperdrive. And Chopper just wants to shoot it down. And she's like, "Are you crazy?" She goes, "The port city's right below. It'll basically destroy the port city down below." And if you listen to Chopper, he goes, and is what he pretty much says. That's how much of a murderous little fucking droid he is. So she's like, "Just slap a tracer on it. We'll find it that way." And so he's looking for the tracer, and I love it because he actually says, "Are you who did you go through my stuff?" Is what he actually says to Hera, and they're bickering, back and forth. And this is something again that's from the animated series as well. He finds his little tracer, and of course he slaps it on the ship before the ship can get into hyperspace and take off. And the ship, of course, is being Shin Hati is piloting the ship there. We find out that you know that Balin and Morgan are actually at this other planet. They have taken the star map there, and it is where the map needs to go to point to the direction of what galaxy they're going to go to. So that is where they're setting up this really large hyperdrive system. So I don't know if you remember the Attack of the Clones, the prequels. So in the prequels, the Jedi were getting around. They had their little, small shuttles. In order to get into hyperdrive or hyperspace, they had these little rings that they would attach their shuttles into and then use that to get into hyperspace. And then when they were going to a planet, they would just leave the ring in orbit and then they detach from it and then go down. Well, they have a large scale version of this where you're going to put in a starship that can travel through galaxies, and that's what they're constructing, which they're calling the Eye of Sion is what they're calling that, to get to the pathway to Peridian. So the pathway to Peridian is as Balin puts it, is a Jedi fairy tale that has been told about aliens from another galaxy that have come and built these pathways to the other galaxy that they're looking at there. Which Morgan's like, nope, this was built by other aliens from another galaxy. Those stories are true. That's where we're going because that's where Thrawn is. We're going to bring him back. And so this is what they're setting up. They're basically setting up a huge ass hyperdrive system out in orbit of this planet. And yeah, that is what they're trying to get to. So again, there's a tracker that is on board the ship. Chopper and Hera, of course, are trying to track that down. And in the meantime, we're also getting some exposition about that Ahsoka pretty much walked away from Sabine and her training and just walked away from her. And Sabine is talking to Hu Yang and says, well, she walked away from me. Why should I go back, to it? And, do you think, but she keeps going, asking him if she would ever take her back as a Padawan. And he goes, well, you haven't asked, is what he says. And she probably would if you asked. And we're getting two really stubborn people here that are butting heads, that are too proud to ask for forgiveness, if you will. And that's what we're getting down to at this point. So, Sabine wants to go because, of course, she wants to find Ezra. And Ahsoka isn't going to ask because she's too proud to ask at this point. So Sabine ends up getting her Mandalorian armor. And by the way, Sabine Wren is a Mandalorian. That's the other thing, too. She is from the House of Wren, which is, yeah, by the way, they're all part of the bloodline of the one Mandalorian who was a Jedi at one point, who had the dark saber there. Sabine Wren was the one that actually wielded the dark saber at one point in time and gave it to now I'm blanking on her name. Bo-Katan. I actually had to look over at Bo-Katan right there. She gave the dark saber to Bo-Katan instead of having Bo-Katan take it from her in a fight. So yeah, so this is all tied into all of this as well, and going back to all of this. But Sabine Wren, yes, is a Mandalorian, and we see her go through the ritual of putting her armor back on, which also includes cutting her hair. And so she cuts her hair short, and we see her standing in front of the mural that she had painted of the original crew, the original Rebels crew. And she's basically getting ready to ask, Ahsoka if she can go. And of course she does. And we get at the end there that, Ahsoka is going to actually accept her back as a Padawan. She calls her Padawan. So she's accepting her back as an apprentice and going to train her again. So, yeah. And also we get Hu Yang, because of course he's built so many lightsabers with younglings and all this stuff. He had gotten a look at the hilt of the lightsabers that the two Sith, if you will, or the two Force wielders were using, and he was able to recognize Balin's hilt as a style that hadn't been built in, that he hadn't seen built like that in 500 years. So that's how he was able to identify Balin. And of course, the other one, he says, I don't know who she is. So they know who he is, that he was a former Jedi, and but we still don't know if he's Sith or not. So these are things that are not answered. These questions that aren't answered. We don't know if he is a Sith or not. We don't know what that Inquisitor, where he's from, if he's a freelance now or what's going on, or she. I don't know if it's a he or she. Also, there is still question as to whether or not Sabine is force sensitive or not, because Hu Yang actually says that he kind of mentions that she does have some force abilities, but nowhere near what Ezra had. So he kind of hinted at it when he was talking to her, but still wasn't like 100% sure on all of this. So that's the kind of aggravating thing of this whole episode is they didn't answer that question. And again, we have 9 episodes here, so we have 7 more episodes to go through in all of this. But yeah, so that is where we leave off, is them going into hyperspace, getting ready to follow the trail to get to the pathway to Peridia. And that's what and also we find out Morgan, of course, is a witch and uses her night sister powers in order to activate the star map, if you will, and she's able to map out what galaxy they're going to and where in that galaxy that Thrawn is, and they find out what planet it's at. We see all of this happen. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this episode. A lot of stuff that goes on in this episode. Next episode is actually the shortest episode out of the entire series. I believe it's only like 30 minutes long. People were grousing about that because again, Book of Boba Fett was the one that actually started all that, where you only had like half-hour long episodes, something like that. I'm okay with it as long as the storyline is and that's the whole thing is the way Filoni writes these things is he doesn't care about time. If it needs to be long, it'll be long. If it needs to be short, it needs to be short. So as long as the story is being told for that episode and the pacing as well. So he is looking at the pacing of this, what he's going to give you in each episode. Now, when you had commercials and stuff like that, when the Clone Wars was being shown on Cartoon Network, yes, you had to have your episodes be 22 minutes long and go along at a certain pace. This is not that. This can be whatever it needs to be in order to get the story across, and I'm happy with that. So again, we had a lot of exposition that goes on in this. We had a lot of stuff shown to us, and we got a lot of information, quite honestly. Again, a good episode, well put together. I did love the whole thing with the Inquisitor throwing their lightsaber. The lightsaber spins, by the way, for Inquisitors. So she, I don't know if it's she, throws the lightsaber at Ahsoka. She, of course, jumps over it. And the Inquisitor uses that in order to get on board the ship that is going to take them away, and calls back their lightsaber using the Force. And I love that whole thing with Ahsoka just kind of turning like that, just a little bit, not enough. She doesn't even move her legs; she just moves her upper body so that the Inquisitor's lightsaber just passes by her, and she's just like, "Yeah, fuck you, asshole." So that was actually a really good move and kind of a nice way to end all of this. So yeah, like I said, and then we also see that how the New Republic has been brought down because they aren't checking people. They're basically just taking former Imperial soldiers, former Imperial people that had high ranks and whatnot, and we're putting them in areas of positions of power where they can actually infiltrate and undermine what was going on in the New Republic. So you can see how the New Order could rise and how the Empire could come back again, because the Empire really never left. It was just basically, you had all the infrastructure still there. They were just using the same infrastructure instead of changing it, because they couldn't change it. If they changed it too much, everything would collapse. And when you got some of that too in Andor, I believe is what it was. Was it Andor? Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is where you got that in as well. So it's an interesting thing to see how that's all coming about. Anyway, with that said, I'm looking forward to episode 3, and that'll be next week. So I know these are dropping on Tuesday night, 6 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Pacific. I am still going to continue covering these on Wednesday nights, just because I know people are not going to stay up, especially on the East Coast. They're not going to stay up until 10 p.m. to watch this or go through the whole review with me. So I'm going to just stick around till Wednesday and do it that way. It's easier that way. So with that said, I'm going to let you guys go for the night. Thank you to everyone who joined me tonight in the chat. And thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing and you know who you are out there, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up here just for you. And if you like what you see there, please hit that subscribe button. If you can, hit that like button, the share button as well. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, go over to suspendedfanimation.com, all one word, suspendedfanimation, then .com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it out every week. Also have all the links to my social media there and all the links to my pages as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. I will see you again tomorrow for Is It Worth My Time? Blue Beetle. So I'm going to be covering. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find out that everyone at that Carillion shipyard is crooked as hell. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow. Have a good rest of your night. Stay safe, be well, take care, and have a good rest of your night. Thanks, everyone. Good night.